3 high-growth Chinese tech stocks will not be banned from American investors. And this is great news for Cathie Wood and her team at Ark Invest because she has heavily been buying into these 3 companies over the past few weeks. After an investigation by the US government, the Wall Street Journal reports that Alibaba, Tencent, and Baidu will not be banned from American investment. Throughout the first 2 weeks of this year, Ark has been buying into these 3 Chinese tech companies, and in today's video, we are going to analyze Alibaba, Tencent, and Baidu to understand why Ark has invested hundreds of millions of dollars into these 3 companies over such a short period of time. But before we dive into each individual company, I'm going to ask you to please hit that like button and subscribe. I am the Gen Z Investor, and every single day we talk about the stock market, going over different stocks you can buy and sell, and discussing any major market news or headlines. So please hit the like button, subscribe for the daily videos, and of course in today's episode, we're going to go over these 3 super high growth Chinese tech leaders that we just got news are not getting banned from American investment, and Ark Invest has been heavily buying into these 3 stocks, and you can see as a whole, for every single one of these companies, Ark has been buying more and more shares to start off 2021. So I think this positive news for these 3 companies may send their share prices even higher than where they are today, making a lot of short-term price appreciation for some of these very large companies right now. So to start off, we're going to take a look at how much Ark has invested into each of these names to start off 2021. So at the time of this recording, I have listed all the shares that Ark owns for each of these 3 companies. As of January 14th, 2021, Ark owns over 3.3 million shares of Baidu, 8.2 million of Tencent, and over 580,000 of Alibaba. And if we compare that to how they started out January 1st, 2021, you can see that so far in the first 2 weeks of this year, they've purchased over 1.1 million shares of Baidu, over 2.3 million shares of Tencent, and just over 50,000 shares of Alibaba. And to get an estimate of how much they've been investing into these companies, I've taken the average cost per share over the start of the first 2 weeks of 2021, and if you multiply that by how many shares Ark has purchased, you can see that so far during 2021, Ark has invested more than $450 million into these 3 massive Chinese tech giants. So this is not pennies. Ark is really going all in. Spending over $450 million on these 3 names to start off this year is absolutely huge. So before we actually jump into each of these companies individually to understand why Ark is buying into these 3 names specifically, there's one point I want to share that applies to all of these tech giants plus any other Chinese stock on the market right now. And that is that all Chinese companies come with a lot more associated risk compared to buying a traditional American name. So although these companies can be purchased in the same manner as any traditional American stock, you have to remember that because of the Chinese government, the tension between our government and theirs, and all the political risks, there is still a lot more associated risk with your overall investment, even though you're buying some massive companies. So although companies like Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, or any other type of Chinese player in the EV space, for example, are some solid big names with multi-billion or $100 billion market caps, although these companies that bring in a ton of revenue each and every year, there is still a lot more risk compared to buying an American competitor. So of course that shouldn't deter you away fully. Do your own research, understand the risks, and if you still want to buy into these companies, by all means, go right ahead. So what we're going to do now is take a look at each of these 3 companies individually to understand what Ark Invest thinks of them and to understand why they are attracted to these 3 names and what has led them to buying hundreds of millions of dollars to start off 2021. And of course, we're going to start off with ticker BIDU because that is the company Ark has spent the most money on so far this year. And if we take a look at their share price, they currently sit around $236, and the company has grown by more than 65% on the 1-year chart. Their current market cap is just over $81 billion, with a current forward PE of 25. And as a whole, Baidu, ticker BIDU, is considered the Google of China. They are one of the largest search engines in the world and control around 75% of China, which is the world's largest internet market. And as a whole, the companies continue to expand. Their flagship app has over 206 million daily active users and over 540 million monthly active users, which is absolutely insane. And they continue to expand away from just the traditional search engine business. They have new AI initiatives. They also have voice assistant players for smart speaker, smart display, smartphones, and they also have what's called Apollo, an open source platform for self-driving cars, and Baidu Cloud, which offers different tools for call centers and other enterprises. So as a whole, they're trying to become a more well-rounded business. They operate in the tech space, and of course, like I mentioned, they are the Google of China. So we all know how much of a beast Google is within North America. They own and operate so many different markets and are a market leader across the entire tech space. And Baidu is their counterpart and their competitor over in China. So I think this is one of the companies that I believe is going to continue to grow. I think the fact that they control 75% of the search engine traffic in the country of China is absolutely insane. And with over 540 million monthly active users on their main app, overall, I think the company has a lot of potential to maintain exponential growth for many years down the road. And I understand why Ark Invest has been heavily buying into this company. You can see, starting middle of December 2020, where they only held around 173,000 shares, Ark has been loading the boat, heavily buying into BIDU, and currently sits now at over 3.3 million shares of this company and all of their ETFs combined. And if we take a look, analysts are still very bullish on BIDU as well. And their current overall rating comes in at 1.58, putting them in the very high overweight to buy territory. And I understand why. Just taking a quick look at their income statement, their top line revenue has been growing at an exponential rate. And over the past 12 months, they have over $15.5 billion in USD of top line total revenue. And compare that to their bottom line of net income, it's over 3.4 million over the past 12 months. So another company with some great net income numbers, plus nice acceleration in top line revenue in the internet space that's only expected to take off for many years down the road, I think Baidu is definitely positioned for some long-term growth over the next 5 to 10 years. And now the second company we're going to take a look at today that Ark has still been buying into so far in late 2020 and into 2021, and that is Alibaba. This company has taken a huge decline over the past few months. Over the past 1 year, shares are almost flat with a slight gain of less than 1%. But if we take a closer look at their chart, you can see from their peak at $317 per share, the company has declined more than 25% to their current level today. And of course, they are having some political tensions with the Chinese government, which is why I reminded you that there is a ton of associated risks with these names. But if once again, a very strong buy rating on this company and actually close to the 1, which is the highest rating possible. So analysts are very bullish on this name. And if we take a look at the chart from the middle of December, once again, from around December 18, 2020, Ark has been loading the boat on this company, going from 340,000 shares all the way up to over 580,000 shares at the time of this recording. So Alibaba continues to grow and expand. They have some of the best financial statements in the world. If we just take a look at their revenue, absolutely exploding year over year, and they've gone from just over $15.5 billion of revenue, and in a 5-year span, they've grown that to over $86 billion, which once again, I'm going to say is absolutely incredible numbers. Just take a look at the chart. You can see some strong exponential growth in Alibaba, one of the market's leaders in the e-commerce space. And I think as a whole, this company is going to continue to grow over the long term. There are some short-term risks, which is why we are seeing such a long decline in the share price and this 25% drop. But if you believe Alibaba can get through it, you think the Chinese government is going to hurt the company too bad, and as a whole, they will continue to operate and grow, definitely a name to take a look at. And Ark Invest has been buying heavily over the past month, late 2020, and to start out this year. And finally, the third company we're going to discuss today is Tencent. Ark has invested over $170 million into this company over the past 2 weeks. They currently trade under ticker TCEHY for around $78 per share. They're up more than 47% on the 1-year chart, and their current market cap is absolutely massive at $724 billion. And this company is extremely diversified across many different areas of the technology sector, and I consider them the Berkshire Hathaway of China. So like Warren Buffett's doing with Berkshire Hathaway, he invests in hundreds of different companies from various different sectors, and he's just a holding company essentially. You buy into Berkshire Hathaway, your money is going to invest into a company that's spread out into hundreds of different holdings. And essentially, that is what Tencent is doing. This company is extremely diversified, and if we take a look at their revenue mix from their latest report, not any stream of revenue makes up more than a third of the total top line. For example, 33% of their revenue comes from online games, 23% from social networks, fintech and business services makes up 26%, and the remaining 17% comes from online advertising. So that just shows if one of their revenue streams has a bad year, the entire business is not going under. They're nicely diversified, and Crunchbase estimates that this company, Tencent, has invested in over 479 different companies. That's incredible. They have over 479 different investments. Some of their most popular are the famous app called WeChat. It's similar to the WhatsApp for China. It's a very popular messaging app, and they also have some major investments in the gaming space. They have purchases and control assets in Fortnite and PUBG, two of the largest battle royale games in the world right now. It owns 40% stake in Fortnite studio Epic Games, and it also owns the League of Legends studio. So as a whole, they're nicely diversified in the gaming space, and like we saw, it makes up just over 20% of their total revenue. But they also have investments in the music and movie industry. They reportedly completed a deal giving them a 10% stake in Universal Music, which is the record label that includes major artists like Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar. So that's incredible. The fact that they are actually invested into so many different aspects of the world, like the gaming industry, social app messaging industries, and they're even buying a significant stake in one of the largest record labels in America. I just like the diversity of this business. So I really like Tencent. And if we take a look at their income statement, this company's been growing at an exponential rate. 5 years ago, top line revenue was around $16 billion, and now over the past year, they brought in close to $67 billion of total revenue. Each and every year, that number has been growing by a massive rate, and they continue to post record highs. And if we take a look at their bottom line, this company is extremely impressive. Their net income over the past year is just below $18 billion. That's incredible. Each and every year, top line and bottom line continues to grow. They are extremely profitable business, and they have a ton of capital to invest and grow operations and buy more ownership into some of the largest companies in the world with this $18 billion of net income. So as a whole, Tencent has grown very nicely over the past year. I really like their business model. I like a lot of the companies they're invested in, and I think this company can grow for a very long period of time. So those were the three companies that Ark Invest has been heavily buying into over the past few weeks to start off 2021. We saw that they bought significant amounts of each of these companies, but of course Tencent and Baidu were the two main players. And we just got some great positivity for each of these companies today. The fact that the US government has decided to not ban them from American investment. So I think we may see a short-term surge in share price because of this positive news. I think we'll kind of let people feel a little bit less risky when investing in these companies. But of course, remember, the risk is still there. There is still always going to be that type of risk when investing in a Chinese name. But do whatever you wish. Do your own research. And if you like the companies that we went over today, by all means, make that decision to invest after speaking with a qualified professional. So thanks for watching, everyone. I am the Gen Z Investor, and see you in tomorrow's video.